Hello, everybody out there in the universe. This is C Square from the Invisible Wires podcast. I'm proud to announce our first Invisible Wires podcast sponsor. And it's Justin Pizzulli, licensed realtor with the Real Estate Gallery in the states of Ohio and Kentucky. Justin has 10 years of experience. He has a 5-star rating on Zillow. I recently bought a home without a realtor, and boy, did it get hairy. But the seller and I had many awkward moments. Things got real foggy and confusing. They thought I said one thing, I thought I said another. I was handling things via email. It was with an elderly lady, and I didn't want to be mean, so it was very, I wish I would have had a realtor then. And buying through Justin Pizzulli, using him as the in-between, it's never been so easy. And you don't need to take it from me. A recent client said concerning Justin is prompt and respectful and charismatic. Justin is, he's no high-pressure salesman. Instead, he is thoughtful and thorough. He highlights the positives and the potential of the properties as opposed to like strong-arming someone into making an offer. And he's just generally fun to talk to, which makes him an even better seller's agent and an approachable buyer's agent. This former client goes on to say, if I were to sell my home or buy another, Justin Pizzulli would be the first man I would call. So that's a customer review, already satisfied customer. Another benefit of Justin is he's one good-looking dude. I mean, if you want a hot realtor, he's the guy to call. You don't want some ugly, smugly realtor. You want, someone represents you that is aesthetically pleasing. So now's the time to list, as homes are recently selling up to 10% more than market value. And Justin follows all the National Association of Realtors COVID safety precautions. He'll wear a mask. I've even seen him once. He was wearing a hazmat suit to show a house. And it just means Justin just goes the distance. So if you're looking for a domicile that you and your family can enjoy for years to come and looking for a great buying or selling experience, call Justin Pizzulli at 740-464-7283. That's 740-464-7283. This is in the states of Ohio and Kentucky. You can go to the Real Estate Gallery website. It's realestategallery.biz. That's realestategallery.biz. You can see a picture of him there. You can also contact him at thepizzulli@gmail.com. That's ThePizzulli@gmail.com. Again, Justin, thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast, and I now give you Invisible Wires.
Welcome, friends, colleagues, strangers, to Invisible Wires.
Okay, here we are today. Welcome to the podcast. It's like the stupidest thing to say at the front of a podcast.
Sounds like so unexcited too.
Welcome
to the podcast. I guess.
I guess you're here.
No one showed up again.
That's what it'll be one time. It'll be me by myself. Well, I'm here.
Yeah. Welcome to my. So, Chris, what do you think about? Well, Chris, let me tell you.
Bill Burr does a podcast like that.
Seriously?
Yeah, he just by himself and
he just asks himself questions.
He just talks. He just rambles and rants and raves.
Yeah.
I had some things I wanted to bring up today.
Okay. Did you see the ship that got stuck in the port? That was something I thought about.
Yeah, explain that. Explain that to me. I just saw the.
I forget. It was the Suez Canal, I think.
Okay.
And then I don't know exactly what happened, but the ship got stuck in between, and it held up all of the world's trade for like a few weeks, I guess.
How long was it there?
I have no idea. I guess I should have researched this more before bringing it up on a podcast. But yeah.
Yeah, it. I saw that it blocked. Then I saw this one lady. She brought up the fact that if you go on Google Maps, it's the Suez Canal is like all blacked out for some reason. Like they don't want you to see.
Oh, they don't want you to see it.
Which why?
Why? Yeah.
I don't know. Why would they do that?
Is that on the border of Egypt, I think?
I really don't. I thought it was in Florida. I don't
I
know.
thought it was in Florida.
I don't
That's the
know.
Panama Canal.
I know. I'm
is
just
in
joking. I'm just
Panama.
joking.
They have the Strait of Hormuz. But
The Strait of Gibraltar. Let's name all the straits we know. Strait of Gibraltar.
Strait of
Gibraltar. I should name my first kid Gibraltar Conley.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Gibraltar.
So stupid.
Kareem Abdul-Gibraltar.
Gibraltar.
Kareem Abdul-Gibraltar.
Stupid.
Oh God.
But
So we got the Strait of Gibraltar. The canal is not a strait though, right?
no.
What's the difference between a canal and a strait?
That's a really good question.
Maybe we should look that up.
Maybe the canal. Okay, so I think the canal would be man-made, and the strait is
I think that's a good assessment.
Not man is natural, made by God.
I did see a fact that said 100,000 men or women, whatever, probably men, died during the making of that canal,
Yeah.
the Suarez guitar canal.
Which one? Panama?
Suarez.
Oh, the Suez.
What is it called? Suez?
Suarez. Rico Suarez Canal. Suave.
You know, Rico Suarez got he's got his own
He's
car.
from Ashland or something?
No, he married a girl from
Oh,
Ashland.
yeah.
He has a church down on Greenup Avenue, but he has his own coffee. And I went down there the other day, and this is I'm not making fun of them. They do great stuff for the community.
Yeah.
But
I saw his TV show.
he was in a movie with Pauly Shore too. And it was called Pauly Shore's Dead. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Look it up. And Pauly Shore fakes his death because he's not getting famous, so he fakes his death. So
Yeah.
he'll be famous. And he's in that movie. But he like had this guy at the church, a friend of mine, make for a music video, make an ark, like a Noah's Ark. So if you go down to their church parking lot, there is an ark in the parking lot. So like, it's not life size or anything, but it's life size, but it's not Bible.
It's not like the ark that Ken Ham built in Kentucky.
No.
Not
It's
that
like
size.
Like you can put it on a trailer and drive it around if you want.
Yeah.
If you want.
There's an arc off the interstate. I think it's 77 on the way to Jersey. It's in Maryland, and there's like it says Noah's Ark coming soon, and it's just pieces of metal shaped like a round boat. And it's been under construction for the last 10 years. Just so many people out there trying to fund arc projects that don't end up coming to fruition. I guess.
Why are they making it?
I don't know. Like what? What are they preparing? What do they know that we don't?
Was the real ark like? Was the real ark as big? As big as like what 10 football fields, or is that is that
It
too
was
much?
in cubits, I think.
Well,
But I don't remember the.
is it 10 football fields?
Is it?
We're already starting off with a bunch of misinformation.
Yeah. The misinformation podcast.
Yeah, that's great. We're forbidden. We can't look stuff up. We're not allowed to look stuff up.
What did people do before they looked like they couldn't look stuff up? They just
You just believe the guy who seemed the smartest.
yeah.
That's what you just believe the guy with glasses.
Like an awkward silence.
Well, that sounds true. I guess. I mean, that's probably what happened. I don't know. Suarez
Yeah.
Canal.
Suez
Suez.
Canal.
Like, it was such a boring story, I didn't look at it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I know.
Oh, canals.
Oh,
What
okay,
else you got on that
gotcha.
list there, buddy?
Yeah.
I have some random facts. So we're going to start doing some random facts. Here we go. It says here, I don't know if this is true or not, but Marlboro is to offer a free carton of cigarettes with proof of vaccination. I can't confirm that, but like, what's with businesses offering, like, okay, yeah, what's at the donut place?
Krispy Kreme.
They're offering a free donut a day
I saw that.
with a.
How do you prove it? Like you show them your arm?
No, you just bring your card in,
Yeah, they're giving out cards now.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
and everybody's going on the internet for some reason, showing their card like they do when they vote, which I have a pretty strong opinion about that being ridiculous. But
It's okay. I have a vaccine.
I mean, if you're promoting people getting vaccinated, I mean, I guess it's fine. Like, if you're
Yeah.
saying I want everybody to
Right.
know I'm vaccinated, you should get vaccinated too. We're trying to protect people.
Right.
I mean, I'm not personally vaccinated, and I'm not going to get vaccinated unless the government makes me. But
Right.
like, but
So what do you think they're doing?
I just heard it.
why do I think they're taking a picture of themselves and put it on there?
Yeah, what do you think, just from your observation, the majority, do you believe are actually just showing you, hey, look at what I've done and I'm trying to show you it's okay, I survived, so will you, or is there some other motive there?
Well, they usually show you right when they get it, so you don't know what happens to them after it.
It's
So
probably a reflection on the untrust that people have, to where corporations and the government need to try to
Build that.
build that trust, I guess. Like Jim Justice, he didn't pick CVS in the state of West Virginia to do the vaccines. He picked local family pharmacies, which is a brilliant strategy.
Yeah.
People,
is there
pharmacies that have been in business for 100
is there a
years,
subsidy for that or something?
they get the federal money to help carry the vaccine. But
Oh.
I heard a story at Rutgers University this week that they're going to require the vaccine for students to come back to school. How can you legally get away with that? I mean, that's the difference between like encouragement and then like forced, like just to participate in everyday life. I think
They have to-
I'm not some anti-vaxxer person. Like
They have to
but-
give you a choice of taking online classes or getting the vaccine. They have to.
I don't know.
There'll be court cases all over the place.
Oh,
for
I
that.
would think so.
My favorite thing that Jim Justice said was, I saw, like, this is maybe 6 months ago. You know how every governor had their little talk every day to talk about the pandemic.
That nobody watched after like the fourth.
Yeah,
week.
they were like, okay, we get it. I mean, they made it very political, but Jim Justice goes, I got 2 words for you. Myrtle Beach. It was just like he had this profound, don't go to Myrtle Beach. Remember going to Myrtle Beach and they're bringing back all this vaccine COVID, and it was just so funny. I got 2 words for you. Myrtle Beach.
One day he stopped talking about COVID and was like, now when it's hunting season and when y'all are hunting, don't lay your shotgun on a fence. You could get electrocuted. Keep the shotgun away from the fence.
That's just good advice.
yeah, yeah, just stuff like that all the time.
It's a good hunting tip.
Yeah.
A lot of hunters in West
Did
Virginia.
you say not to piss on electric fence too?
Didn't Mythbusters do a segment on that? They tried to piss on electric railroad tracks or something. They couldn't get it to work. They like picked up the stream so heavy that eventually they got it to work, but it was like way more flow than like a normal person pees. Like their test dummy guy like exploded or something.
I wonder how many electrolytes you have to have. Like, if you have more like electrolytes in your
4.
pee, 4.
Yeah.
Total of 4 electrolytes.
4.
That's how you measure electrolytes in groups of 4. So
Quad.
1 quad of electrolytes.
1 cubit of electrolyte.
Cubit electrolyte. Okay, let me find another one of these. I thought these were just like ready for me. Okay, here's one. I can't use that one. That'll be bad.
Boo.
Been watching the court trial
No.
with the whole George
Which-
Floyd thing.
What is that?
How's that going?
Oh man, it's hard to put into words, but the witnesses that are
What is it?
Testifying.
What are they? What's the court case based on?
a settlement or something.
family did,
Oh.
but
It was like
the
$50 million
officer is
or
now
something.
being tried.
Oh, that's
Who is the doctor?
The officer.
Oh, what am I?
right. Doctor, I don't
You know
think-
George
the
Floyd?
doctor.
Yeah, I thought he's the doctor.
Have you heard of that guy? You know?
How could I not? Yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the trial's been going on. This is third day in.
Is it on like Court TV or something?
It's on everything live, so you can watch it. I'll go back
So the officer's on trial.
Wow.
and he's facing 3 charges, like first degree, second degree, third degree. There's pretty much, from what I understand, he will be charged with something. Like, it would be very unlikely that he's just gonna get off
There's no way
like
he won't.
other officers have in the past. And it's just not because of, some sort of emotional sensationalism or anything like that, or whatever it might be. But the facts that the prosecutors are bringing are solid. They got different angles of the moments that was happening. They're bringing in, of course, witnesses that were actually there, from EMT workers that were just off duty,
Yeah.
that weren't allowed to do anything. There was like a firefighter, or not a firefighter, but an EMT with the fire department. You had witnesses calling the police on the police, saying, "Hey, this man's about to die in front of us, and these officers aren't doing nothing about it. This guy's not moving. He's not resisting anymore, and they're still laying on his neck." So far, the evidence is pretty surmounting, and the only thing that I've heard that the defenses came with, or the one thing that they're saying is, well, George Floyd had certain things in his system, which was there were other factors other than the officer just putting his knee on his neck. Other than that, they don't really have. Of course, they haven't started presenting their case, but that's basically what they're going on. So when you hear their when they go and ask questions to the prosecutor's witnesses, it's more or less saying, trying to get them to admit that the reason the officers weren't doing their duty at that moment was because the crowd was getting out of hand, and they had to get the crowd back, and they had to push this. But when you watch people, obviously with cell phones and security cameras all around, you see that the crowd is very orderly, and the only time they start getting louder is right around that time when you start hearing George Floyd's crying out for his mama. And then that's when you start hearing them say, get off of his neck, or whatever it might be. And it turns out that they thought he was on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It was 9 minutes and 23 seconds he was on his neck, actually. So anyway, everyone's innocent until proven guilty, so I'm not making no judgment yet. But so far, from the witnesses, they all seem credible. One moment stands out to me was when the defense attorney was trying to get this witness to admit that the bystanders there were getting out of hand and emotional, and the guy was the witness who was on the stand said, "You know what?" He was like, "No." He goes, "I kept my person." He goes, "I was not outside of myself." And he goes, "And many others were not. We were not getting," and what the defense was trying to paint them to at, like trying to make it so that the officers had to kind of neglect George Floyd to deal with what was going on around it, which that was not the case at all.
So they're trying to paint the officers in a certain light.
Well, that's the only way. Well, they have to. I mean, at this point,
Yeah, I mean, the fact is the guy was killed. That's the fact.
yeah, no
You
question.
can't get around that. Like, the guy shouldn't have died like that. Like,
No.
now, the only way they're going to get out of it is if they have pre-existing health condition that he could have had. I'm just saying
Well,
they'll probably
that's
bring
what
that
they're
up.
kind of hoping for. Now, there's a jury, and of course, the jury's going to do their best to be unbiased as possible. I mean, over the past year and a half, I mean, it's hard to say no one knew about this case. So I'm sure that most of the jurors have some sort of opinion, I would assume.
Finding a non-biased jury would be impossible.
It would be very
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, that selection had to take, well, almost a year. I mean,
Yeah.
What? There was some rumors that officer. There was some rumors that the officer knew George Floyd from a nightclub or something.
Mhm.
Did you hear anything about that?
They
Or-
actually did. Well, I wouldn't say knew each other. From what I understand, they worked a shift together. I guess Floyd was a security guard at the nightclub, and of course,
Yeah.
the police officer was also working along with the security at the nightclub. And maybe a few times, maybe just once, but there was that some sort of connection before.
Mhm. Like, what's the odds of that? It's just really weird. Like, it's a big city, Minnesota.
if
you
you
know,
have the same beat, I don't know if you live near the same place you
patrol.
patrol.
Yeah, that's a good question, though, man. But, yeah, who would have thought that when they worked together that night that a few months down the line or however long it might be, my knees are gonna be on your neck. So
Well, they're going to try to say that. I mean, they're going to bring up the fact they could probably had a pre-existing relationship that they had some animosity toward each other. I mean, for sure.
well, even I doubt that they would do that. But even if that's the case, that moment in itself, I don't think would fit George Floyd. At least for the close to 10 minutes that he was on the ground, he was not resisting whatsoever.
I'm just saying they're going to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well, possibly. I mean, they will definitely bring up. I don't know. I mean, maybe they knew each other in the past, but I don't see how it would help his case any if they did bring it up.
no, I'm not saying it'll help. I'm saying that'll be something
Now the question is,
that the prosecution will bring up.
if the officer should be acquitted, then how will people react to that? The last thing obviously they need is all the what happened last year during the demonstrations.
Right.
But at the same time, it would be hard not to imagine something happening if if he's not held responsible for anything, in other words.
Right. He was just fired or let go temporarily or put on leave, and then that's when the riot started, right?
Yes, something like that. And it turns out that he himself already had 21 complaints against him. Now, granted, anybody can call, I guess, a police station and be like, "Hey, I'm complaining on officer so and so."
Right.
That could, and you could be making it up. But when you get 20 some, because I guess the average is far below that on any officer normally. So it was way more than it should have been. So something's obviously you would think's going on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read this book by Malcolm Gladwell. You ever check him out?
Yeah, which one was it?
Is it the 10,000 Hours guy?
Yeah, his newest.
I've got two of them over there. Yeah.
Well, he has one called Blink, but
Yeah.
the newest one, I forget the name of it. The name of it, but he hit the nail on the head with all of this. I think he released his new book around the time this was happening, but the case that he was working on around was about Sandra Bland, who was pulled over for just having a tail light out or something stupid, not using a turn signal. She's trying to like smoke, take a cigarette to help calm her nerves and de-escalate the situation. And the officer like grabs her out and forces her out. Like she was had a job interview. She had just moved to a different state. She was a victim of all kinds of like small parking ticket violations, and she ended up killing herself in jail after the police brutality, because she was like, there she was trying to start her life in a new city and then instantly gets pulled over again. But the whole premise of the book, and
They call it Talking to Strangers?
Talking to Strangers, that's it.
Okay,
yeah, that's it. It's fantastic. And the whole premise of that book is just proactive policing. And so that whole proactive policing theory that they teach in criminology is basically developed by a man that I think some really violent city like Detroit or something. And the idea is you pull people over constantly for like really stupid things, like, okay, the color of their car is not the exact registration, or they have a tail light out, or they have a headlight out, or they're driving too fast, or driving too slow, or just all of these really mediocre things and basically he even said, the creator of proactive policing said, you don't want to take these tactics and incorporate them into all the police departments everywhere, because you're going to have the entire population of Americans angry about the police. You can't have a police department like this. You can't build bridges like this. And so this is what they're teaching in every single police academy, every criminology class. They're teaching this idea, and we understand it right here. We have Hanging Rock Police, one of the jerkiest police departments there is.
They have a quota.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on a podcast.
No.
I don't really care. Screw them.
Well, even South Point police are like that. The South Point police will have a quota, and they will pull you over. I've been pulled over more on that road than any other road because they have a quota, and they have to. That's how it's a speed trap. Yeah. You go from 35 to 55. You know what I mean? So then you have a situation where people are. They have a tendency, there's to speed. So that's how you fund your police,
Right. And
of course.
Why are they trained on all these like escalation tactics instead of de-escalation? They're not trained on any de-escalation. Like they only know how to make the situation worse. Like if I was a police officer and like someone started yelling at me, like why not just walk away? Why do you have to tackle them to the ground? Like walk away back to the car for a second. Is it really worth choking someone out about it? Let's take a second and maybe offer him a cigarette or something. Just so many different ways that you could de-escalate this. And I'm not saying like someone's got a gun and they're trying to shoot you like to run away. Like obviously like the police have a job and they have a role in times where they do need to escalate situations.
Right.
But there's no reason that we should have all of these police departments around the entire country just out there looking for trouble to cause, looking for things to do, using tactics that were designed in a very small area that was super violent and a couple of blocks in the city. That's what the guy.
That's what you're saying. So it's look for the small problems to find the big problems.
That's basically what he argues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said the whole root of the issue behind all this police brutality is this proactive policing.
It's strange.
I would say there's a few things that would need to happen when we talk about reforming the police. And that's definitely one of them. I think secondly, they need to be one of the highest paid careers there is. I mean, when every single day from one situation to the next, you don't know what's going to pop off. The problem is you get disgruntled officers who's working 60 hours a week on top of getting paid shit, on top of not knowing if they're going to see their wife or their kid. So the stress level is always on 10. And you talk to any cop and they'll tell you they can't turn it off. Even on their days off, they can't be at a 4-way stop and not think, okay, something could be popping off in a second, and always carry that mentality. One things that I've suggested, not to anyone important, like the mayor or anyone, but I think officers should have, as good of a pay as humanly possible, depending on the area and the city that you live in. Secondly, they need to have 3 or 4 days off in a row, like nurses. Nurses work 3 days on, or 4 days on and 3 days off to recoup, to get your mind straight. When you have cops working 5 or 6 days straight and they're 12-hour shifts, and then you're going to pull somebody over and who knows what you've seen. Like I talked to a cop, he goes in 1 hour, he went, and this just happened a few weeks ago. There was a woman about to, and we don't hear about this, it's not like it's posted on the paper or whatever, but he went to a call on the Russell Bridge. There was a girl about to jump. She was already on the ledge. Right then, he has to get a call that somebody has a heart attack, and he's got to go to another call. So he leaves, goes there, tries to resuscitate the woman. He's the first one on the scene. She dies on him. So, and this is just one shift within an hour's time on a random Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
So you put all that together and in one day, in 1 week, in 1 month, in 1 year, dude, these dudes are mentally in a whole other world that we can probably not imagine. And I just feel if we can pay them what they deserve, if you start paying officers 6 figures a year and deserve the best quality and nothing less when it comes to de-escalation tactics, when it comes to intelligence, when it comes to mental health, I mean, they have to check all the boxes. Give them those 6 figures. I mean, they can die at any moment. Their family needs to know they will be taken care of. Cops make as much as teachers do. And that's ridiculous.
I talked to a cop this week, a police officer, excuse me, at the Y. Might be the same policeman you talked to. And he was saying the same thing, that they need to be paid more. And he even talked about how some of the people he works with are not the smartest dudes, you know, and they're just not the kind of people you want to have a gun and a taser and a baton. And he said he wished that they could pay more, so it would. He said he'd want more educated people. He kept telling me how I could be a cop because I'm so smart, and I was like, "You keep going, dude. You tell me how smart I am." But it's. I think they didn't need to be able to get people that are emotionally smart.
We wouldn't want to do that because why would we want to put up with it? Like, we don't want to deal with douchebag people.
No, we don't.
Like,
but I mean, I'm a social worker, and I've had, and in the past, I've had to go to people's houses and deal with domestic violence, drugs, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I wasn't the police, so they saw me differently.
right.
You know, I could go in and be their friend, and I was helping. You know, of course, I've had to call the cops and things like that. But I think that okay, we can pay them more. I'm not saying we shouldn't pay them more. All the cops out there, we need to pay you well. But the biggest where we need to put the real money is training and continued training in mental health.
Well, that's what. Yeah, I mean, you raise the bar. Just like if you have a professional team, you will go out and buy the best players.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that will raise the competition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it would create competition. So if you know you're a police officer and you're going to start making $100,000 a year, but these are the requirements every single year. You know, you have to meet these certain places. You know, when it comes to whatever areas that need to be focused on, and you raise the bar, I feel like you would weed out all the other ones. And you know, we also have a big problem with that, with what he's saying. We have officers who's never been to school, but they are able to enforce the law and even kill somebody if it came down to it when they haven't even been through the schooling. And I know many guys like Sarita Canova, Worthington Police Department. You're not even required to go to school.
Right. You don't have, the requirements are not very high.
You just have to pass a test.
You
And a physical test and a passage, but there's no
But you have to go,
schooling.
well, there is schooling. Like, I mean, my friend who, you know, Jason's brother, he was a policeman. And
Ashland, yes.
yeah, but not in.
No, not Worthington, not Sarita Canova, not these other departments.
The
There's no schooling required. But these same men and women have the same rights as, you know, other cops, but there's no training. That just seems illogical to me that they don't have to do it.
Let's say maybe it needs to be based on population or the demographics of an area. Worthington, yes, I'm not saying they don't need more education, but Worthington doesn't have a lot of crime. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but still, it can happen. It just takes one.
Yeah. But
And
you
to
look
know
at a
how,
big city though, where it's gangs and people have AK-47s and
so
all
what
that.
about teaching? Small city, small
Well,
town.
that's a different story. I mean,
To me, though, it's the same because you're dealing with people's lives. And
the danger. I'm talking about like
exactly, you would
Yeah.
think if it's more dangerous, you would want to be trained like
That's what I'm-
soldiers.
that's
Like,
what
would
I'm
you just
saying.
want to put a soldier on the front with no training?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Regardless.
just saying, like, a policeman in Worthington is going to have different problems than a Huntington cop. You know
Well,
what I
of
mean?
course, but still, yet, I mean, people still have guns in Worthington. I mean, you could still have people from Huntington drive through Worthington
Yeah.
and get pulled over.
I
And,
mean, I'm being a devil's advocate here. You know what I mean? Like,
right, I have to challenge it.
yeah. I mean,
I get you have to challenge
Wasn't all this sort of like the idea of defund the police? And you'd hear Republicans, rah, rah, they're going to defund the police. It's like, that's not really what they were getting at. It was
Yeah.
more so like, let's take some of the money so people like Chris could show up at the door, rather than a
opposed
police
to-
officer.
Yes.
As opposed to,
reallocate the police, if
right.
you will.
Reallocate the police.
Yeah.
I think defund the police was the world's worst PR strategy that ever could have been.
Oh gosh,
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
It's semantics of
Yeah.
what we really want to do. Let's give these people more training and help them be prepared. Like, a nurse, a social worker, a teacher has to have continued education. They have to have continued, like, I got to stay on top of the latest mental health, modalities and the DSM changes every year, like, every 10 years or whatever it is. And, I'm sure Sean has teaching techniques that change, and and you grow and you learn and you get better at it and you work smarter instead of harder. And, I mean, we're coming from a society that was chaos for so many years. I mean, you think about, where the police came from. I mean, it's just, I'm glad we have the police. I can sit on my porch out there and not worry someone's going to come and kill me.
Might
Because
come and kill your deer in your yard.
they might do that. That is true. I mean, they might shoot a shotgun in your yard. I mean, and to give context, I told you that, right? Yeah. I talked about that on.
Yeah, I think
okay.
so.
I mean, that guy needed trained better. That guy.
I think when there was little kids just walking,
It's like Saturday or Saturday morning, and he shoots a shotgun in my yard. Like, I mean, that guy needs better training. And he looked at me. I'm not a hunter. Well, this isn't the woods. So this is.
But that's just it. Like, whatever. I don't know what the protocol would be for him at that moment, but was he trained in that particular area of, man, if you get a deer that's not dead yet, how do you handle it? I would just think, I'm sure he had a knife on him, some sort.
Well, I'm not expecting someone to stab a deer. Like, I mean,
Well, listen, if you're going to kill a deer,
How would you rather
what's
have done it? Stab it, please.
like big shotgun.
what do you think? I mean,
Echoing
I
through
think
the
about the situation. I'm a
neighborhood.
policeman.
Makes
I'm a
sense,
policeman. I'm in a residential area.
Right.
I come upon a deer who has been hit by a car. It's in someone's nice yard, and I'm thinking, I guess I'll just shoot it in the head with a spray gun.
You should have filmed it.
I didn't know what's happening. I was making
Post it.
coffee, like, doo, 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 doo. My wife
Your
freaks
lives
out.
matter.
My wife freaks out. She goes, a cop just shot a deer with a shotgun in the front yard, and I was like, how did I not hear that? I didn't hear it.
We're
I
just
don't-
used to it around here, I guess.
I don't know, but he didn't know what he was doing, and they had no way of. He just left it there, like it, just this dead
I
corpse.
expected you to take care of it.
No, I said, hey, is someone gonna come get it? So they'll come and get it Monday. Well, I called the police I called the police, and they were like, oh yeah, that happens all. And the policeman said it happens all the time. I said, this happens all the time. I've said this to the guy at the dispatch. I said, this happens all the time, and you guys just leave it there. And they go, yeah, they'll come get it like Monday or Tuesday. And I was like, but it's Saturday. Having people come over, and you guys just sprayed a deer's brain all over my yard. Like I called the guy, and he's acting like it was nothing. He had no affect of any sort, and I was like, do you think there should be a better protocol to this? And he goes, this is just how it is. And I was like, he goes, I'll give you the number to the waste sanitation. Called sanitation. I'm like, yeah, we'll be there Monday. And I was like, okay. And I just thought it was. I mean, would a pistol be better? I don't know.
Yeah, I think a pistol might be better, or a knife, honestly, or
Forget
Is
it.
Or
Justin,
a
throw out
plastic bag. I don't know.
Which is not a mafia kill. Like, I don't think a knife.
You could have choked it out.
A knife is not. The funny part about it was
Sleeper hold.
the funny
Yeah,
part about
man.
it. The funny part about
Cops know those. We know that.
the funny part was I was watching out the window. I was watching out the window at him, and he's like staring at the deer, and it's still like
Of all the options,
Yeah.
he's
shotgun.
he's flailing. Like the deer's still like moving its legs, it's still flailing. Like he's definitely not a hunter because he didn't kill it because it was not dead. So he starts.
You mean after he shot it?
It wasn't dead.
What about just leave it? I mean,
You got to put it out. You got to put it out of its misery. Yeah. Even hunters try to kill it first shot.
Oh,
You know, like you don't want a thing to.
So wait a minute. He was point blank and still couldn't
with
kill
a 12
with a
gauge
12
shot.
gauge.
Yeah.
And he's a cop in our streets.
Yeah. And it didn't die. And so he's like looking at it. He's like kind of dumbfounded. I could tell he was like, it's an awkward situation. You're in the middle of it.
Where did he shoot it at the first time?
I was hoping the head, but I didn't see it, you know. But he kept like kicking it with his boot a little bit to see if it was. He was like, "You just a little," and I was like, "Just shoot it again." Like, I don't know. Like,
And he did.
no, he didn't. I just went inside. I was like, I don't know what to do about this. This is so dumb. I'm going to catch idiocy. I'm going to catch the disease of idiocy if I stay out here. I didn't want to see a deer get shot again.
No.
I'm trying to.
What else are you supposed to do though? I mean, what's the alternative?
For him?
someone should have just came instantly. I guess. I mean,
For him?
yeah, for him. I mean,
He should have shot it in the head and killed it with a 12 gauge shotgun, point blank. I mean,
okay, yeah.
if I shoot any of you with a 12 gauge shotgun, you're gonna have a face. Okay,
Yeah, but-
you're dead.
So, what are the other options other than shooting with a shotgun? Like, because you said, because I thought it was
He's
a good
gotta-
idea. I thought it was a good idea to use a knife, like Sean said, but you snarked at that.
Well, because he's not a Native American.
It's-
jumping on
Well, he's got knives. I mean, I'm sure he's got a knife somewhere to cut a rope or.
I don't think a knife is a standard police weapon. I'm sure he hasn't.
I'm sure
a
it's
rope.
not.
You want to hang it in my yard?
This is a
I
rural
mean,
area.
I'm sure
I
he's.
mean,
Cops got all kinds of things in their trunk, junk in their
You know
trunk.
what? You know what? You guys right. Let's be PC about it. He should have tased the deer. You're right. He should have just tased it.
Reddit's
handcuffed
right.
it and brought it in.
Like, I don't want to make
Put it in
fun
the
of the
back.
guy, but I don't want to make fun of him because he's protecting our streets. But I feel like he should be a little bit. I don't know. This should be like we live in Appalachia. There should be a better protocol putting down animals.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Hmm. You could have gave it like, here's some food with some poison in it, buddy.
no, I don't. Shooting it was a good idea.
Ear poison.
Shooting it with the gun was a good idea. Just I don't know why he didn't kill it. Like I don't understand.
Euthanasia.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
Dr. Kevorkian.
But maybe there is like a.
Heroin, fentanyl.
He'd overdosed it in my. But maybe it does. Maybe if you shoot a deer with a shotgun, it keeps moving. Maybe that has nerves or something.
Yeah, not a fish. I mean, is that?
I don't know.
Wow.
Oh, I don't know. That
I
was
don't know
just-
either.
It's a.
That's probably one of the greatest stories I've ever heard. Though.
And then it's funny because my birthday party was like that Sunday. So
Did you
everyone-
guys talk about it? Like, hey, there's a deer
Like,
in your yard.
dude, 30 people came to my house,
Yeah. I was here towards the end.
and there was just like a deer that just a massacre in my front yard. I mean,
Like crime tape around your house.
I
Chalk drawing around the
like,
deer.
it's funny that like all day I thought about it. All day I thought about it, and then I walked up to my driveway and I was going to go to the guitar store, and I was like, wait a minute, that deer's still there. So then I got mad. I was like, I'm going to call the police about this.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really think about it until I just was like, I guess, I don't know. Maybe it was just a Saturday. I was like, whatever. I don't know. But it was funny to me that I don't know that it happened that way. Okay, I've got some random facts. Ready? This will take us to a little less.
Yeah. I got to stop laughing at my own jokes too. That's my bad. Sorry, guys.
Well, they say if laughter is contagious. So you know.
So wear your mask then.
Oh.
Okay, this is off weirdfacts.org. So if you want to check it, men spend an average of 7 hours a year hiding in the bathroom for peace and quiet, according to a study.
I would say those men are married
I don't
Or
know.
they live
or
with-
have roommates
Or they live with their mom.
because I live by myself and I can be in any room and I'm content because no one else is there.
Well, you're living the dream. You know,
That's what I'm saying. So you're either married
So
or
you-
you have a roommate.
so your whole house is your bathroom.
Yes.
I would clock into work and then go poop.
Well, that's another. I never heard that fact too. That people spend so much. I don't know the number, but they waste this much time a year in the bathroom at work, which that's definitely true.
It's the only place to get some peace and quiet.
I know.
Now that, yeah, I've gone to the bathroom just to get
Mhm.
away.
Yeah, it's a nice. No one can bother you. Where I worked used to when I went to the office, I would definitely I would have so many people coming at me. I would just go to the bathroom. The bad part is the bathroom is in the middle of the hall where everybody could see it. So Chris went to the bathroom 6 times today. What does?
Chronic master.
I'm sure. I'm sure that there's a problem there. That'd be a problem.
Everybody's coming at him, so.
Waka.
I thought that would get a. I don't know. I thought that would get it better. You guys were like,
you
well, I don't
got
have to
zinged.
you guys were like, I don't have to do that. So because I
That
live
was a
alone.
zinger.
Oh, here's one. Okay, you know Bluetooth, right?
No.
You know the Bluetooth.
Ew.
Turns out that Bluetooth is named after the 10th century Scandinavian king named Harald Bluetooth, who peacefully united Norway and Denmark.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Oh, genius over here.
That's really the
Never heard that.
it's really the reaction I wanted, Sean. The guy who made Bluetooth and it's not the same guy, and who made the USB port, Universal Serial Bus, that's on all stuff, on all computers.
Mm-hmm.
He gave it away for free. Like he just made it. Like I know the guy who made the USB port.
Wasn't he Israeli or something?
You
Yeah.
still spreading misinformation again.
No, that's true. He made it up. His name's Kenneth Universal Bus Jenkins was his name.
I have a feeling this might be a little bit inaccurate.
No, but he invented the USB port, and he just gave it away to the world for free.
Man.
Think about you made something that changed the world. I mean, Bluetooth changed
For
the world
good?
too.
You think it changed the word for good?
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
for the better?
Oh, yeah.
the USB port?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
We still use it today. It doesn't seem like it's really been outdated
No,
for, decades.
like Macs don't have a USB port now.
Yeah, but you just buy the
You buy the $70 converter for that.
Ridiculous, dude.
Yeah.
Like Mac or the iPhone doesn't include the
No.
cable anymore or something.
Yeah.
Just it's getting stupid.
But we have to have an iPhone. We got.
You don't have to.
Well, we think we do.
I don't think I do.
You have one.
I
so
got
don't-
one, but I don't think I need it.
You don't think you
How
need
long
it?
how long did I have a flip phone?
Too long?
Dumb phone.
The only reason I got a smartphone was why?
You could talk to us or something. Oh, so you could record music.
Well, no, because it was given to me. Or
Or
just so happened, someone got a new one updated. Not care. But I will say though, having a smartphone I can see where it could become an issue because it is so slick, man. It's just how it's engineered. It's real nice.
I mean, it is nice to have.
Yeah, I'm definitely not complaining. I'm very
I mean-
fortunate to have one.
I mean,
But I don't feel like I need it. And I don't think you do either.
I work for mine.
Yeah.
Especially not working with. I don't see the people I work with ever.
Yeah.
So I can just be on my phone. I can be going down the road and be in a meeting. I can.
Do you think it's going to be like that for you from now on? Or is it just like, or is that how your job is shaped and structured because of COVID? Or is it because that's how it is shaped and
It's
structured?
COVID and it's also proximity. And then they realized that, hey, why would I like last week, for instance, I could have had to driven. Doesn't sound right. I would have had to have driven. I could have had to have driven. Would have had to have driven to Cincinnati.
Mm.
But I said to my boss, I was like, we're having it's a 2-hour meeting. Why am I going to drive 6 hours? He goes, oh.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, don't do that. I go,
So you could do it here.
I just sat here, right here. I sat right
Yeah.
here.
And he didn't have to pay you for gas mileage and all that.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really care about that, but
That's a
I
lot.
didn't waste 6 hours in the car
Yeah.
when I could have. I just
Sitting on your
now if it was a
massage
5-hour meeting, okay, sure. seeing people face to face. I mean, but like I've hired people and I've never met them in person.
That's tough.
Like a lot of people. Like that's weird.
Yeah.
Like they could be they could just be a torso and I wouldn't know. I mean, I wouldn't know. I think it will change things. I think you have to really work on personal relationships when you do that. Because if you don't, like I'm sure with the kids, you get a new classroom, kids, you don't really see those kids in person at first. I mean, I know you probably did eventually, but that had to be rough, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't at all.
Really?
No, it was. It's definitely different. Just with any type of relationships. I mean, starting out just over a screen. But I've heard stories of, say, dating people that never actually met for the first few months or maybe a year, and their whole relationship is based over maybe Zoom, and it kind of established a more grounding or more in depth of a relationship as opposed just to an immediate, physical type of connection.
Oh yeah, I think that's.
But teaching and things like that, I think it is essential for me if kids are present.
Well, you're engaging a child. I mean, that's hard to do anyway.
Yes, but even if you were a high schooler, I just feel like I think, or for me, even being a graduate school, I'd much rather be in the classroom, and maybe that's just my type of learning. But I just feel like being there is just so much more different than.
Don't you think graduate school is kind of different? I mean, we've all been to graduate school, and like it's different. It's more like you want to learn that stuff, right? It's more like you want to learn it. You're not like in high school, you're forced to go. Undergrad, you're like, my parents want me to go. And then
the professors treat you a lot more professional too.
That is true. The respect you get.
That?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they also they have people that they know want to go deep on stuff. I mean, this is going to be your profession usually. You know what I mean? So it's like you are invested more in it. And like whatever you take from that, I mean, you can get a master's degree and not pay attention for sure. You can. I mean, you're not going to, but I think if the people that really go in and put the effort in, like I've had interns that got master's degrees and I'm like, oh God, I don't think they're going to make it. You know what I mean?
I feel for me, like when I'm talking to my instructor, it's just not enough time. Being in a philosophy program, sitting down with intellectual minds that are able to break down concepts and arguments and kind of show you, I think is essential. So far what I've experienced is it's kind of a herd mentality. They're kind of herding me in the direction of, but it's not like this Aristotle / student type of engagement, and maybe we'll get there eventually. But I'm a little disappointed
because it's online.
Possibly, like we do have our cohort. One particular class, I have a metaphysics class, which I really love, but the concepts for me are just a little complicated to grasp.
Well, it's metaphysics. I mean,
and I really do enjoy our conversations when we have them. We meet about every 2 weeks. Each module that we go through is about 2 weeks, and then we gather together and we talk about it. But it's only for about an hour. Of course, I know the professor has a life himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a family and things going on. But I feel like that's, to me, I just would like a more, hey, I got all the time we need. Let's just sit down and talk and see if we can get through this. And I haven't experienced, as I said, that quite yet. But so I feel like, though, if I was there possibly, I might be able to get that more often. Maybe, talk after class, maybe for 5 minutes or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I hope if I get this, when I graduate and get this degree, and as I said, one of my goals is to teach at a university level somewhere. I want to be accessible. I want to be that teacher that I'll stay however long. I mean, of course, it's easy for me to say that now because I don't have a lot going on, but I want to be that accessible. I think knowledge and wisdom and these certain things, the questions in general, deeper questions about life. I just don't. I just think these are so essential that we shouldn't just kind of just blow through them.
But
Not that my professors are, but
in contrast, though, like you look at what you're studying is abstract, more or less. You know what I mean? No,
it's a mixture.
Well, I'm saying they're abstract.
There's concrete, some
they're
things.
abstract ideas. Like you're not studying how to make something really. It's thought. It's how to construct thoughts and beliefs. And
Right.
I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying it's more like my preaching degree. That's kind of, well, I'm not going to go into that, but you look like an MBA, like you have, like, I guess there's it's more math and concrete ideas.
It was all
and-
math.
Yeah.
It was all. I didn't.
So there's absolutes.
I didn't know that until
I mean,
after
there are
I got
absolutes,
there.
And where did you get your master's?
Marshall.
Marshall. Gosh, I bet that
Yeah.
was weird.
Yeah, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I'm not very good at math. I don't know how I actually did it. It was just we all would get together and spend time in the library together and work collectively.
Yeah,
Really
that's
where
it.
came down to.
You know, I'll say this. I was a little sad last night. Not sad's probably not the right word to use, but there was an emotion that I had because we had this big test. Now this was in another class, and it was a midterm, and it was a lot more extensive than I ever thought it would have been. So I wasn't that prepared to study for the amount that I would have to study for. So, but I tried to get a little study group together. And of course, we got West Coast times, East Coast times. And in the email, I emailed, I think everybody I thought was the cohort, and I pretty much did. And said, if anyone wants to meet, over Zoom, maybe one day, we'll go over these questions because we had accessibility to midterm questions. We'll go over them and we'll kind of tease this thing out and see if we can get through it. Well, I got one guy, Zach. He replied back and just kind of made a comment saying, "Man, there is a lot here, and I appreciate it." He's like, "I don't think I'll be able to make it or whatever."
That's nice of Zach.
It was nice of Zach to do that, but I didn't hear nothing else from anyone else. Like I said, we got one guy from Japan that's in the cohort group, which is like
Really?
12 hours, whatever, crazy different.
Which school is it?
Biola University. It's Talbot Seminary School, but so last night we had our cohort group, and I really enjoy this cohort group. This is a spiritual formation course, which is extraordinary. It's one of those courses that it's unfortunate that I have to go to seminary to get, because every Christian would absolutely thrive to get what I'm learning now. And this is just the basic. I had somewhat an understanding, but now it just kind of solidified everything I thought to be true of the Christian world, or at least the foundation of it. So that's a whole other thing. But
The church really needs to be better at that. I feel like I'm good friends with a new Christian. He converted from Islam into Christianity, and he's going around. He lives in a very large population area, but major city. He's like, "Man, I've been jumping around to churches. I just can't get what I'm hungry for." He's like, I just signed up to get a degree because
Wow.
I'm so hungry for this, but I just can't seem to find anything scholarly coming from our churches. It's just all TED Talks that people
Yes.
are walking into, and
yes,
we're failing the future generations of Christians.
I mean, for real. And the things that I've learned so far, like I said, this is foundational stuff. Stuff that I should have really grasped years ago. And it's no one's fault necessarily. Somewhere down the line, we missed this link of our spiritual formation. But with saying that, I really enjoy this class because in this class we have 6 other philosophy majors along with myself. So our cohort leader says that's pretty rare, at least for her, because a lot of times it's just people that's actually just strictly in theology school, maybe being a pastor or whatever it might be. So she brings up how we thought the test went. We're all giving our opinion. And then one of the dudes was like, "Yeah, me and so and so, we got together and we studied and we took the test, I guess, together. I guess they were able to take the test together. It was a time test and they were able to work it out." And of course, I'm a grown man. I've learned to deal with it. I'm not going to.
Wait a minute, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's nothing like that, but it just goes to show you that even in a setting like that, whether it was intentional or unintentional, maybe I come off wrong because I can come off that way. Maybe
Too brown.
maybe too brown. Maybe my last name's a little too funny, or it could be something as innocent as they just didn't think about it for one reason or another. It could be a various things.
Maybe they're the same time zone. Maybe
Well, no, one guy lives in Pennsylvania and the other guy lives in Washington.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you, though.
Oh.
But regardless of the factor, it is one of those things that I wanted to get together because that's when you're with a group of people, you can really feed off and communicate, like you were saying when you were doing your masters at Marshall, how much that helped. And to create that though, long distance wise, is a little more challenging.
Some people are just great at learning by themselves, and that's fine too.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
for me, I have to talk about it, and I love to talk about it with other people and learn together collectively. And be hands on. I can't just read something from a textbook, and I actually should have never bought any of my textbooks because I never read a single one of them.
Yeah.
I had to always go to class, listen to the professor, take notes, figure it out, and then work collectively with other people. And they really fostered that environment at Marshall, and that's the only way that I made through it.
That's what business is, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what spirituality. I mean, I think there is I'm a book guy, but I mean, I'm a book. I'll read the book.
I love to
you know?
read books. Don't get me
No,
wrong.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm like, okay, if I ingest this, then I have the infrastructure. I'm just from my degrees.
Right.
I had to. My social work degree was interesting. We didn't really have tests. They did this interesting thing in the social work school. They would make you teach the class. So they would say, okay, you guys look up this, and we'd have groups sometimes, and which was always awful because you'd have some people who led the group and they did everything, but a lot of times it would be me having to teach on a certain subject. So I had to, which for me, I was a preacher before that and I did PowerPoints already. So I was like, I just did PowerPoints and everything. But it made you teach it to learn it, which I love that.
Wow,
And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
dude.
And there was a lot of public speaking. This one time I made this PowerPoint, and this is ridiculous what I did, but I'd talk about domestic violence. And so it was domestic violence, nature or nurture. So what I did is I dressed up as Batman and I made this video of me interviewing Batman about domestic violence.
Now, which Batman were you?
Probably the Christian Bale Batman.
Christian Bale.
Because I was like, hey, I'm Batman. And I was like, hey, Batman. And then it'd go to me, and it'd be like, hey, Batman, how you doing? He's like, I'm doing good. And then,
That's pretty good, man.
And then it'd be like, so Batman, what do you think about domestic violence, whether it's nature? I mean, it was really just to kind of get people's attention, but what do you think about what do you think about domestic violence being nature and nurture?
Where did you get your bat suit?
I had one for Halloween. That
Should
From
have
how old were
incorporated
you?
Joker too, since it was about violence.
I know I should have. In hindsight, I could have made it way better, but it. I think
Did you wear the bottoms too?
I know.
Or was it just a mask?
I think I wore the whole thing because it was one big piece.
That's awesome, man.
And I was in my house by myself doing this, But
It was a proud moment.
But that was more of an attention thing. It wasn't more of I taught every point as Batman, But anyway, I was more about the show, of it, I guess. But it was interesting. But we did have tests and stuff.
How did the other students take it? Did they like it?
Oh, they talk about it to this day. I have meet people
Love
in
it.
my
Till this
cohort.
day, man.
Wow.
In my cohort, they would kind of
This day.
in my cohort. I'll meet people from my cohort, and
He's a legend.
they'll
living.
be like, "Man, that thing with you interviewing Batman was hilarious." Like they'll bring it up.
Why? Have you noticed that sort of environment is fostered really well in college, the creativity, I think, in general, but in high school, it's completely different. And I feel like that's why so many creative or smarter people shut down in high school. At least I did. I remember one of my good friends brought in, we had to share poems, and we just had to get up in the class and read it. And he actually brought in a jukebox and played Jimmy Buffett's "A Sailor Looks at 40" or something like that, and then read along to it, and everyone bullied it and make fun of him. Was like, what the hell is this guy doing?
Well,
I was I thought it was cool.
I think in high school, everybody's in high school and for teenage years, everybody's getting their identity together, their identity, and that's why kids have a hard time. Everybody's, what do I wear? I mean, I remember going to a party in high school and I had a pair of K-Swiss on. I was like, my mom bought them for me. They're white K-Swiss, and they were just I was like, everybody hates me. They know I have these dumb shoes on. Like that's how you're so self conscious that anything you can do to get attention off you. That's what high schoolers do. Oh, look at Jimmy. He's got red shirt on. It's red shirt Jimmy. They just make fun of him till the end of time. And it's to get, they're just looking to be in a group. And like, if I make fun of these people, then, and that's just human nature to be like, I mean, kids are brutal. I mean, brutal. I mean, you know that. I'm sure you see a lot of that in school. Kids being brutal to each other and bullying each other. I think that the creativity, though, I like the way you're going with that, because that's what we need to foster is creativity. But the problem with the educational system is that it still has remnants of trying to make factory workers.
Oh, right.
It has remnants
the
of
whistle that blows. Yeah,
like this, and this. Oh, you're going to work in this factory. You're going to do this. It still has remnants of it. I'm not saying they're not getting out of it, but they are working. You look in Kentucky, they had this big writing thing for when I was a kid. They had the portfolio, and they made sure we knew how to write and be creative in writing. And I thought that was good. I thought that was
That's
good.
definitely good.
Yeah.
Isn't that probably one of the biggest challenges of the 21st century, is keeping the government up to speed as corporations and businesses? You look at, just all of the recent troubles we've had with Facebook, and the Congress trying to create legislation like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be stealing people's data and selling it. And, we're looking at this 10 years later, like, the government just can't keep up with the rate of enterprise. And so how do you transform government to work more like a business,
I mean, I don't think the government it's more caught up in itself of who's in charge and who's going to be the next person. And I think that the issues are almost used as pawn pieces to gain power, instead of the issues are not the point to them. It's how can I use this set of who's going to agree with this so they'll vote for me.
How can I name this highway after a veteran?
Yeah, they're not thinking about what's good for the people. They're thinking about what's going to. I mean, I'm saying largely they are looking at what's going to get me reelected.
Right.
That's what they're looking at, because that's what it is. And until we get money out of the lobbying and the money and all that on the pharmaceutical companies and blah 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 out of government, we're not going to have a government that serves the people. I mean, it's just we can preach all day and say human rights and civil rights and all this stuff. They're going to use us. They're going to use what we believe to get themselves reelected. That's just how it is. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, I didn't want to go down a political route, but
it's hard because on one hand you need money to run a campaign, but also
I mean, this firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have people giving you money, and then you're gonna have to owe them favors.
I would love to.
Or you feel obligated.
You feel obligated. Oh wow, this person just gave me $13,000. Like now I have to answer their phone. Answer the phone.
I think what it would be essential is having a solid rock team around you. But then, do you think with social media platforms we have now, I mean, do you really even need how much do you need that now, as opposed to having solid people, like 5 or 10 people that know their way around designing platforms, designing marketing, things like that, and not needing outside donations or whatever? You think it's possible now more than before?
I think if you have some money to start, and also it's different on a national level. I think national politics gets a lot more attention.
Talking about like House, Senate type of
House
stuff.
House and Senate, you would be able to crowdfund, I think, a little bit easier than a local race.
Yeah.
Someone in the average donor of Ashland isn't going to take the time to give the guy for mayor running $50.
Exactly.
They're not going to do it.
Exactly.
So a lot of the good old boys club and the corruption, I mean, happens just as much on a local level.
Heck yeah.
But it's more so because people don't care as much.
Which they should, because that's what really matters.
Yeah. I mean, everyone knows who Donald Trump is. Everybody probably knows who Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell is, but probably most people in this area don't know who their state rep is.
Yeah, exactly. They just vote down ticket.
Right.
Whoever, if you're Democrat, you vote Democrat.
They've polarized it so much that we don't have the choice of we don't have a diversified choice.
Right. And then they don't know who their county commissioner, engineer, recorder. I mean, and
we probably don't know what half those people do.
Right. And you don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How does this person affect? If we knew how every person affected us. How does the mayor affect us? How does the county commissioner affect me? How does the sheriff? How does this person? How does the jailer? How do these people affect me?
Dog catcher.
The dog catcher. The dog catcher. How do they?
Well, how did you come to think that I want to be part of politics in some way? Like, how did you come to that decision?
Just for the typical cheesy answer, if I really wanted to make a difference, but
Yeah.
that's not like any politician that tries to tell you that is full of shit.
So, well,
Like,
because
like, it's
for
just not
you, because that
possible.
was your genuine
Right.
reason, and you saw how far that got you,
Right.
and you realized, well, if I just have this pure motive, that ain't going to get me shit,
Right.
because I
Right.
need so
Right.
you see a lot of compromises with people that end up,
Right.
They might start out that way, but
They
then
might.
if they get to some sort of level,
Right.
do you think more chances?
They're not
than,
able to make that happen because they owe too many favors at that point. So if they got elected in the first place, like getting elected, having the most money, and like you said before, money doesn't win elections all the time, but it certainly helps. And typically, who has the most money does end up winning. And you are by that time the person who has made the most money has the most favors to pay back, and a lot of that money, like you said, we need to end PACs. We need to.
Yes.
We need to.
well, remember the Supreme Court ruling in 2010 that allowed
Glass-Steagall or
something like that.
Yeah.
That allowed corporations to be considered as entities. So there's no cap.
Oh yeah.
so-
United versus the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
People's
Supreme
United.
Court decided, you know what? Yeah, we'll consider corporation as an entity like me or you.
Yeah.
And they can donate however much that you want. So, and when you look at,
That's all bullshit.
yes,
That's
I
a
mean,
joke.
and so then you get, listen, it's on both sides, but just one comes to mind is like the Koch brothers. They got so much money that they can put into candidates, as you said, and the candidate who gets contributed more than likely probably will win because they got
So
ads,
logistically, let me
billboards.
get this straight.
Yeah.
So please keep your thought.
Yeah.
Logistically, the reason that people with more money, with the most money, win is not only advertising. It's not because they can advertise more, it's because they have more people that they owe. That like those people are going to be behind them.
That's part of it, but it's also really does just come down to advertisement more than.
So you're
anything.
saying that is the
It is
reason.
and like if you're able to do a round of 4 mailers to every single household,
You think
before-
mailers matter?
Oh, big time.
Any type of, I think, message on
Yeah.
anything matters.
In my election, it came down to who did the most mailers.
Really?
My opponent did. Yep. People don't have internet out there. I mean,
I guess
and
I'm
Facebook has now banned political ads.
Mm-hmm.
So really, what are you left with? TV and mailers.
Mhm.
It's just about getting your name, the repetitiveness.
And then
All
word
of
of
it.
mouth.
Mhm.
Word of mouth.
There is
something.
some word of mouth, sure, but
Well, you're talking about You're talking about what county was it? Scioto County or
it was Scioto County,
what's different?
Adams County, and Ironton.
Yeah, so Lawrence County.
Not all of Lawrence County, just Ironton.
Oh, okay.
You get that Hawthorne, the new kid. He's 25. He's a House representative.
Oh yeah, Sean.
I just saw Sean.
Or wait.
It begins with the C. He's in
Wait,
the
where?
wheelchair.
Which? Oh yeah.
Cawthorne, maybe it's
Yeah, I know who
Cawthorne.
you're thinking. I forget his name.
But he's like 25,
I know
and
who you're
no
talking about.
prior political
Right,
experience.
Right.
Got a great, I guess, testimonial story of what he's came from, and things like that. But it
takes
makes
a
you
lot of that.
think, like, how does a guy with no experience get backed heavily by these, people to get? So, in my opinion, I definitely feel like he would be a prime candidate of someone who would have a lot of people involved in something like that.
Well, they look for stuff like that. The swamp looks for I'm not being mean, but they're like, oh, this guy's in a wheelchair. He could get
Yes.
elected better. Or
Right.
Really?
He's got a big person,
Oh,
good-looking
yeah.
kid. I mean,
That's
he's
what they
got,
look for.
yeah.
I mean, they look
Mhm.
for the guy in the eye patch. What's his name?
Yes, the soldier. Oh.
I love him. I love him to death.
Solid Snake.
Not
Sorry.
Solid Snake. No,
Sorry, that's what he look.
no.
That's what he looks like.
Every congressman, have you noticed is either a lawyer or a doctor or a Vietnam veteran, or I mean, like it's just standard. Like you have
So
to meet
appearances
those.
matter. I mean,
Appearances are huge.
prestige
I know
matter.
every congressman always has to be married. I mean, usually.
Or you got to have something like we're talking about
They're
this
skeptical.
Cawthorn
Women are
kid.
skeptical.
He's a young kid, 25, and from what I know of him, he doesn't have, a political degree even, but he does.
Yeah.
He kind of like
I don't know that case as well as I should specifically.
he seems like someone like you
he
had
seems like a nice
motives,
guy.
like,
Yeah.
what, I want to make a difference. And
Yeah.
he's even got a pretty good balance. Like he's into,
Sometimes it's right place, right time too.
true. And I can see that. But North Carolina, I mean, I think in his particular district was a pretty tough district. I think he won by surprise somehow. I think it was an incumbent that he beat, but I could be wrong on that.
And I don't mean to be too skeptical. I mean, I don't really know that much about him. I really don't. But
Yes.
where does he act? What's the backstory?
Yes.
My skeptical side is, who is his dad? Who are
Right.
his parents?
Right.
Who does he know?
Because I know we've all had conversations in past that we would always say, man, whoever you would be talking to, at least I have, I should say that. And, you would be, you would be a good representative. You would be this. And just because you know their demeanor, you know how they carry themselves. But they're not going to get backed by nobody for one reason or another. So you get all these people that can do a really good job. But somehow, it's always, like you said, some sort of connection to get you there.
And one of the most important things is the primary. Really is, I mean, around here it's probably more important than the general election, because if you don't have the support of your party, you're not gonna win. And usually that much power, it does come down to a handful of people at the most who decides who's going to win the primary. It's just how it works. They want to make sure that it's someone loyal and someone who's going to listen to them when they make the phone call.
Yes, when they say you're going to vote this way,
right?
Right. And that would be hard. Like that when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, when you got certain senators and House Republicans that kind of bucked with the rest of the party during certain, with the impeachment trial and other things. Now, whether one agrees with it or not, the thing was, they got a call saying, what, don't buck, don't do that. But they did it anyway. And just the pressure of what a party can put on you, say, hey, you're not going to get this fundage. You're not going to get this or so many whatever it might be. I mean, they kind of got you. But then I think but the people that did do it, they know where they're at in the party, how strong they actually have.
Well, we have to start looking we have to start looking and demanding candidates that don't take money from special interest groups. The only two right now that I know of is on the Republican side is Matt Gaetz. The only one that I know on the Democrat side is AOC.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't accept any money from or Bernie Sanders.
Right.
But those are.
Have you seen his campaign against Amazon? No, he's going. Bernie Sanders is going after Amazon. He's got all these.
That kind of. I mean, I might be on the same page with him on that one.
Well, they're talking about the working conditions.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
They're talking about the pay and the promises made, and
a lot
people
of
have to work in these conditions. And I mean, Walmart workers could say the same thing. I mean,
like Script.
What Script?
Like the coal miners.
Oh,
that would go work in the coal mine and then get paid in Script, and the county store. Mm-hmm. They could buy stuff from the county store with the Script. It's like they're working all day and they buy all their stuff from Amazon.
See you later, Sean.
See you, Sean. I'll see you, dude.
Yeah, next week.
Take it easy. So
yeah,
probably wrap it up.
We'll go on for a little bit. I'm glad he's doing that, because it's hopefully it'll start a pattern of people treating their workers right. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I know, like my nephew and all his friends work at Walmart. I can tell they're just.
What else do you get to work?
Getting beaten down. I mean, two of them have college degrees. They're like supervisors now. Like they went right to the top.
I gave an entire presentation in college and in public speaking, like, don't shop at Walmart. Yeah, like sometimes I still do. I mean, it makes you sound like a giant liberal but you're really not. You're like, this is not. Like, we're not living in a democracy anymore. We live in an oligopoly. Mm. And these poor rural areas, like, had prime real estate that could be used for so many things. Then Walmart comes in. It's not Walmart's fault. It's just we were desperate for jobs. Like, oh, let's put a Walmart here. It'll create so many jobs. It's like, yeah, shitty jobs.
What do you think of this? I've had some conversations with people. I'm going to try to be careful with what I say here, but they've said that people that live in this area don't need as much money, shouldn't get as paid as much for the same job.
That's what they were the union. That's what they were trying to argue in West Virginia with the teachers unions. Like, hey, the median income in West Virginia is only 25. Why do teachers need to be making 40 or 50?
Well, they say.
I mean, it's not a bad argument.
They say
I
the
mean,
price of living is lower,
right?
so you don't need to get paid.
That's
as much.
true.
But that doesn't mean you don't need to get paid as much.
No.
Like if I have the same degree as somebody else, just because I live here doesn't mean I should get paid less. Just because I live here. If I have the same degree and I have the same qualifications, I'd work just as hard. Like, you should get paid just as much as someone who lives in Louisville. Why does it matter? Just because it costs more to live there?
Yeah.
No. That's like, what kind of ism would you call that?
That's
the demographic or the geographic ism? Like, I don't know. That kind of gets under my skin a little bit when
I really do think that something needs to be said about the oligopoly going on in this area.
So what is the definition of oligopoly?
Oligopoly.
Oligopoly.
Where there's not the small percentage of, corporations and people running, or running the government or running the economy instead of like free enterprise. So it's like there's too many barriers to interest. So for example, like, I think it's 1 in 3 jobs you need to have an occupational license in order to practice that. So like just in stupid things like, okay, cutting hair or threading eyebrows, or
you have to have a
painting
license
nails
of some sort to get it.
Yeah, home inspecting houses. Like, okay, like that, like on the surface that sounds good, but like the free market can regulate it. Like if you're not going to go get your hair cut
you're saying the government shouldn't regulate whether you have that or not.
Yeah, like if like somebody wants to start cutting hair, why do they need a license? Like they might, like if they're good at it, like then they're just good at it. Like if they're bad at it, like I'm not going to go back.
Okay, that'll work for cutting hair.
Right, and you don't need that with everything. I'm not saying like we don't need doctors to be unlicensed. I'm not making that argument. I'm just with common sense.
I'm just thinking of things that wouldn't need it. Cutting hair.
There's all kinds of stuff.
The guy that works on my car, how do I know that he either fixes it or he doesn't?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but you can look up reviews. You can see, okay, does he?
Here's the thing with doctors. Doctors don't have to fix you at all. They charge you regardless of whether they fix you or not.
Right.
I take my car to I take my car to a garage and they don't fix it. I say, hey, this is still making this noise, or the wheel fell off. You gotta. But if I go to a doctor and I say, hey, my hip's messed up or whatever, and they just say, well, we did exploratory surgery. Here's $30,000. Like they don't have to tell you how much it's going to cost you. You have to ask them.
The human body really isn't like an automobile, though. Like I think
but
so much more complex.
You should get paid more if you fix something of mine.
Yeah.
If you don't fix it,
that's true. That would incentivize doctors to actually practice better instead of be so willy-nilly and not give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, doctors, that's real. I mean, but then you go mental health.
But then you might have over repercussions, like that guy, the heart surgeon in Ashland, that was doing too many heart surgeries. That might be a negative repercussion of incentivizing that.
Then it's, I guess you could say for doctors, you can actually prove if they fix the person or not.
Right.
Now, if you're dealing with like cancer and then it's the person's own fault that they have a heart problem because they keep smoking and drinking or whatever.
Right.
There's too many variables, I guess. But in mental health is even worse. Most people I have done therapy with, I'd say 50% don't get better because either they are not invested, or like, how do you measure that? So, I mean, I guess I have to but it's just kind of weird how some things you have to do a good job and some things it's just for seeing the person.
Right.
Something, it's
well,
weird.
And people try to use that argument for teachers too. Like, shouldn't you, pay teachers more if students are getting better grades? And it's like, I don't know that I agree with that.
There's too much effort on the kids' part.
Right. Like you can't. Yeah, I don't think you can performance review someone when they're reliable on someone else performing. I don't think that's a good. Like, it needs to be about just yourself, like how you're doing. It's different if you're in management, but like when if you're a teacher, I think that's That's you're dealing with children who are like coming from broken homes.
You can't
go
measure
home
it.
and are getting beaten, and then you
Yeah.
expect them to sit in the classroom 8 hours with a teacher. Like, what's a teacher gonna do?
And teachers are paid by the government too.
Yeah, and I'm sure. Too bad Sean's still not here. I'm sure he'd have so much to say about that.
He really would. He would have.
Yeah.
He's he's been doing it for a while. And also it's like he's probably a teacher that really puts a lot of effort in.
Oh, I'm
You
sure.
know, and you have teachers that don't. And I know therapists that are awful. They just say hi to the kid, and
Oh God.
yeah. I mean,
I did therapy for a while. I had like the BetterHelp app.
Mhm.
You ever heard of that?
yeah.
And it was the biggest waste of money I've ever
So
spent.
tell me about it. What happened?
It was just Zoom calls and just, so how does that make you feel? And then I was like, okay. There was never any like make some recommendations or
Yeah.
like this went on for months, and eventually I was like, I'm gonna take a break. I might come back. And she's like, all right.
I will say that.
Like, I this is more. I'm getting more therapy right now
Yeah.
talking to you than paying someone.
I mean, I would say.
$250 a month.
I mean, you're helping people. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm not. I'm a therapist, but
Yeah.
what I have to do is how do I help people develop skills to frame things differently, to be able to deal with what their life is and to self-actualize. So if you look at simple cognitive behavioral therapy is you'll have a cognitive distortion. Like, for instance, I'll have a cognitive distortion that is, I'll frame it as black and white thinking. Things are either bad or good. And that's how I'm really bad about this. You're good or bad.
That's just Western ideology in general.
I know, but
isn't it?
that's a huge thing. I mean, people can't accept the gray area in life,
know. Yeah.
and then everything sucks.
Right.
Or you have like people think in extremes. They'll think, well, this always happens to me. Everything always bad happens to me. Blah blah blah. Blah. And they don't.
Right.
There's a middle ground for that, and it's not genius. It's just people get caught in
That I don't understand. I've
patterns.
never thought that about like this always happens to me.
I know people like
It
that.
seems like kind of selfish or you're not in touch with reality or something.
We have this interview question that we ask people when I interview people, which I've been doing a lot lately, and we say, "Have you ever won anything?" And I'm not looking for them to tell me they won some prize or they won the lottery, or I'm not looking for that. I'm looking at this person's attitude. Do they see themselves as someone who wins and this good stuff happens to them? Or do they say, no, I never win anything? Because I'm not going to hire that person.
Really?
Because their perspective is a loser. Like, I'm a loser. Because things,
I was gonna say no, I never win anything, so I guess I'm a loser.
But you-
I was gonna say like I was gonna say I won $100 one time on the lottery.
there you go. It's fine. But then you think, then I look at like how they view their life. Are they have a life of gratitude? Are they a person that's going to bring down other people? I used to work with someone who said then she never won anything, and she never won anything. Because you do perpetuate your own reality.
That's kind of like Donald Trump though, like the winnings. Like he wins because he thinks he wins.
Win.
Win.
Yeah.
It makes that's the human psychology.
And there's an attitude, I hate to rhyme like this, attitude of gratitude that's I think is important. Like a lot of time I know that I'll be like, man, things aren't going good. I just thinking everything, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I have a job, I have a house, I have a wife, I have a family, and I'm thankful for what I have. Because we have the Buster mentality, of course, is more, which I had a better car. And like, you can get depressed because you always want more and you can never get there. Like it's simple and it's that's really a lot of people are talking about that right now. It's gratitude and being thankful for stuff. But really what therapy I've seen is helping people some people get in their head. I don't know. I mean, you seem like a person that gets in their head.
I'm
yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Absolutely, I am.
Yeah.
My own worst enemy.
You overthink
100%.
things to a point where,
Constantly.
and I can say this because I do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Constantly.
it's like you can't even see your own success because
Right.
you always want to be somewhere else. You always want to think something else should have been better. Like I could think even to get real meta, oh, this podcast could have been better, or it should have been this way, or should have been
Yeah.
that way, and like you should all over yourself, and you just can't enjoy the moment.
But it's funny because I had a job once. It was my first job out of college, and I was just talking to some people, and I just had that real outlook on life, negative outlook. And I ended up being, I think it was like the top performing person in the program. And the dude I talked with after the program ended was like, dude, I never would have saw that. I thought you would go nowhere. You just have a terrible attitude. And I said, I don't expect anything and I never think I'm good enough. So I end up pushing myself harder than you probably did.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when I was like, I have an issue. And I still battle with that to this day.
So you're saying your expectations are so high that you can't
Right.
meet them.
I can never meet them.
Yeah.
I think some of that comes from, I just in general, like my dad never like had those expectations. Like just, I was, you know, I never did anything the right way. Like, you know, when I was a kid, I was like, oh man, I'm old enough to cut the grass now. And like, I'd be like, Dad, can I cut the grass? And it was like, no, you won't do it right. That's just,
And
that's
he
the
has
kind
no-
of,
and
my,
he- yeah.
that's the kind of like
Yeah.
childhood that I had. And he doesn't mean to be that
No.
way, you know. It's just I wonder if that was the cause of it, but I don't know. I'm not blaming my father. I love my dad. Like we have a great relationship, but
Yeah.
you know, it's just things that I've thought
Well,
about.
that
I mean,
kind-
maybe me overthinking again. I don't know, but
I think I've talked about this a couple of times. And I talk about this. I've been really dealing with this is my expectations for other people and myself. So if I'm constantly disappointed by other people's actions, especially people I work with, I'm like I expect them to be a certain way and they're not. I expect my wife to be a certain way and she's not. I expect friends and colleagues and my dad and my mom, and I expect them to be a certain way, and I'm like, why can't I just accept the way they are and just accept it? Just accept reality for what it is. Just accept it and be like, okay, that's the way they're going to do things. And the same thing for me. Why should I put such high expectations on myself and just wallow in that? I shouldn't be disappointed in myself all the time. I mean, you got to push yourself, but how long is that going to work for you?
mm-hmm.
Like, where does that lead you?
Right.
You know?
I'm not as bad as expecting things from other people as much as I do myself, and
Well, yeah, for sure.
also I always think people think the same way as me too. Like, hey, I just generally have good intentions,
Right.
and I've learned very quickly over the years that it's not the case at all for most things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other emotional. I'm not much of an emotional thinker. I'm more of like a logically driven person. So I assume most people are like, oh, this makes sense. I wouldn't want to start drama. I would,
Yeah.
I would just want to do my job and then go drink a beer and have a good day. Like, or just little,
right.
I can't even begin to process a lot of like drama that happens in the workplace or in my own life because I just don't understand it, because I have good intentions to just get along and be there for other people and do the best we can.
I think that people have other motivations that they may not even be aware of. Like, we had a conversation here, like maybe when the first podcast was, you were talking about,
that's
like,
accurate.
you said that, and we'll let Sean speak to this next time. If he listens to this. But,
I'll have a lot to say.
You said something about you didn't think people know they were being evil.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's true.
I need to remember that.
Yeah. They don't know. Like, Donald Trump thinks he's doing right, but he's not. Like, like he lives in another reality of, like, heck, you could look at a drug addict. Drug addicts, they're just going after that thing. They think they're being, they have no real self-reflection. So they can't even register that.
What I would say about my boss is I think she has no self-reflection and just an ego-driven individual that I think doesn't realize it. I think she, in her own place, thinks she was a good person. So
I think people like that, you just have to say they're not at a place that they know.
You just have to brush it off.
Yeah, you just have to be like, well,
nothing you could have done differently.
They're not self-aware, and you want to shake them and be like, you're being like this and we can get along, but they're just not going to be that. I mean, and that's where you have to choose just to love people regardless.
Right.
Know?
The idea of not being self-aware is so scary to me. Like, I constantly tell people, like, how am I doing? Like, tell me if I'm doing something like wrong. Like, and I think people need to be better at just telling that to people, and then people not getting offended, because I want people to treat me like that. I know, like I was very thankful Jason, who we have on here a lot. I was getting ready to marry a girl, and he said, dude, no, she's a giant bitch. And like that helps me like realize like, oh wow, maybe she is a giant bitch. Like, maybe I should listen to someone who's telling me something, and like, and so I appreciate when people tell me things. But I will like, and I don't always assume they're always right though.
No.
I'm gonna, I might push back, but they should have a good answer. If they're gonna bring it up, we should be able to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you should have enough courage to tell someone that's,
Right.
especially who's your friend,
Especially who's a friend.
to
Yeah.
say, hey, that theme song to the podcast sounds like it was recorded. But I need that. You know what I mean? Like, I need someone. I don't take it wrong when someone says,
Yeah.
hey, this could have been. I even ask people like, hey, is this written okay? What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And it looks like insecurity, but really it's like, I respect an outside opinion on things.
Yeah.
But I think there's also, you got to watch not being insecure in yourself and things like that. But especially in the workplace. But I think it's if we're open to it and that's being vulnerable is what that is.
Yeah.
If you're vulnerable to other people, you'll get it back. If you do it long enough. If you're always on guard, and you're never going to get that back. And you have authentic relationships when you do that. But so many people just don't get that. They're on guard all the time. They're not
Right.
vulnerable. But I've seen it work for me at work. I've had to, and I say work a lot because that's all I work a lot. So
Right.
it's about personal relationships. And I've said stuff like, listen, I don't know what's going on here. I'm not going to pretend I know what something is.
Right.
I'm not saying I never do that. Sometimes I'll look it up on Google real quick or something.
Like we do on this podcast.
Yeah. But I think it's important. The vulnerability is important to be able to have good relationships with people. And I hope that we are. I hope you are honest with me and you tell me what's not cool, or for heck, I think that's a good thing to have with somebody.
Yeah.
I think this was a great podcast, and
Top of the hour, 9:00.
9:00, and I want to say you have a choice: love or no love.
Thank you for listening to the Invisible Wires podcast. You can email us at invisiblewirespodcast@gmail.com. You can interface with us on Instagram at invisible_wires. We appreciate you listening, and we hope you have a great week.